Page 3 of your fall semester exam review. All right, just still going off of the right side, I did post the first 2 pages, basically numbers 1 through 9. And so here is the third page. This is going to be questions 10 through 15. Okay, so number 10 on the right side, what are the x-intercept and y-intercept of this problem? Not too difficult. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. One thing real quick before we find our answers. Where it says what is the y or x-intercept, that's the same thing as saying a 0. Okay. So if you have a question that says what is the 0 of this graph, it's another word or another way of saying x-intercept. Okay, so the x-intercept is going to be where the line crosses the x-axis, and we're going to list it in coordinate form, or in other words, x comma y. That doesn't look very good. X comma y form. So you do need to list the coordinate and not just that number 4. Okay, so the x-intercept is going to be at 4 comma 0. Okay, x-intercept always has the zero last, and the y-intercept has the 0 first. All right, and then the y-intercept is equal to where it crosses the y-axis, and so that's going to be 0 comma 5. Okay, so that covers x-intercept and y-intercept. All right, here we go. Which of the following represents the range of the function f of x equals 6x minus 7 given the domain? Okay, so all you're doing here is basically plugging in your domain values here. And so if you remember from the previous, I believe it was the second page, I went over domain and range. Domain has to deal with the x values. So that means wherever you see an x in your function, you want to plug in these numbers in for the x. Okay, so off to the right or left side here, you can go ahead and just put, we're trying to find f of 1. We're trying to find f of 3, f of 5. Let me make that a little more neat. F of 5, and then f of 7. Okay, so you're going to find 4 different values from domain to find the range. Okay, so f of 1 is equal to, we're just rewriting this function here. Instead of 6x minus 7, you're going to just plug in all of these numbers. So in the first one, we're going to have 6, and instead of times x, we're plugging in 1 minus 7. Okay, and then when you find this answer, this is going to be 6 times 1 is 6 minus 7, and then that is going to equal -1. So this is one of your range values, -1. Okay, I'll do one more with you, and then I'll let you guys do the last 2 on your own. F of 3 is the same thing as saying 6. Instead of 6 times x, you're going to go 6 times 3. And then minus 7. Okay, and that is equal to 6 times 3 is 18. 18 minus 7 is going to give you, what is that, 11. Okay, so when you go, so at the end of when you find out all of these answers, you're going to list the range. Okay, so you can even put, so here I'll give a little squiggly. When you list the range, you're going to do, you don't have to do this fancy parentheses. You can just do regular parentheses. You're going to list these from least to greatest. So, and then for instance, -1, comma 11, and then so forth once you find the last 2 values. Okay, and then at the end you will close the parentheses. Okay, but you do need to find 2 more values, the f of 5 and f of 7. All right, moving on to number 12. The value of y varies directly with x. Which function represents the relationship between x and y if y equals 15 over 8 when x equals 9? Okay, so what you want to remember is what a direct variation means. So if y varies directly with x, it is in the form of y is equal to kx. Okay, and so when we want to write a function or an equation that relates these this the y and the x first we need to find the k. Okay, so that's where the value of y equals 15 over 8 and x equals 9 come into play. So we're going to rewrite this function, or this equation, y is equal to kx, but instead of the y and the x, we can plug in what we know. So y is 15 over 8, so let's go ahead and put 15 over 8 is equal to, and then the k is what we're trying to find, and then instead of k times x, we're going to go k times 9. Okay, or in other words, 9k. So if I go ahead and rewrite this, it's going to be 15 over 8 is equal to, we'll just go 9k. Okay, because 9 times k. And once we solve for that k, we'll be able to write our final answer. Okay. All right, so when you want to solve for k, there is actually just one step here. We want to divide by 9 on both sides. Divide by 9. And you could easily do this on the calculator. It might give you a decimal answer. Yeah, I think it will give you a decimal. So in order to leave it as a fraction, once again, you can't do it on a calculator, but 15 over 8 divided by 9, this is the same thing as saying the bottom, or the top number, 15 over 8, times 1 over 9. Okay, that is the same thing as if you were to divide by 9. You're multiplying by 1 over 9. All right, and that is, we know this is equal to k. Okay, so 15 over 8 times 1 over 9. Well, in order to make this a little simpler, we can reduce a little bit. The 9 and the 15 have a number in common, that is 3. So if we divide both numbers by 3, the bottom will be 3 on the 1 over 9, and the top will be 5 on the 15 over 8. Now it's a little bit easier to compute this. All right, so now on the top we got 5 times 1, and on the bottom we got 8 times 3. So we are going to have k is equal to 5 times 1 is just going to give you 5, over 8 times 3 is 24. Once again, you can do that on a calculator, but I'd like you to try to practice by hand first and then go to the calculator just to check your answer. All right, so now that we have the k, we can write our equation. Okay, so we are going to write the equation in y is equal to kx. So we can write the equation as y is equal to, instead of k, we can write 5 over 24, and that is times x. Okay, so that is going to be your answer for this problem here. It varies directly. You're just trying to find your k, or in other words, the constant of variation. Okay. All right, going on to number 13. What is the slope of 2x plus 7y is equal to 49? If you remember the shortcut way back when I told you, you could just do negative a over b. And this equation is in the form of, let me zoom in so I can make this a little smaller. This equation is in the form of ax plus by is equal to c. Okay, so that is standard form. So if you go negative a over b, it's that number that's connected to the x, put a negative on it, and put it over the b, which is 7. That is the shortcut. So if you take the shortcut, this will equal negative 2 over your b, which is 7. Okay, if you do not want to remember that rule, all we do is take this equation and rewrite it and solve for y to get it in y equals mx plus b. So let me go ahead and remind you that y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, so rewriting this equation down here so we can have a little more room to work, we got 2x plus 7y is equal to 49. There's only 2 steps to move this into y equals mx plus b. The first one is to subtract 2x on both sides of your equation. And that'll give you 7y is equal to negative 2x plus 49. 49. All right, and then the last step is to divide by your 7. So let me rewrite this up here. We got 7y is equal to negative 2x plus 49. All right, and then to get into y equals mx plus b, last step is to divide by 7. And let's go ahead and do it on all the terms here. So that's going to give you y is equal to, negative 2 over 7 doesn't reduce, so you got negative 2 over 7x, and this is going to be plus 7. All right, and then so your slope, and all it is asking for the slope is your m. So your m is equal to, remember, y equals mx plus b. So that is going to be your negative 2 over 7. So negative 2 over 7. That'll be your slope, okay? So you can see how we took the shortcut off to the left side there, negative a over b, we still got negative 2 over 7. Or if you, once again, if you don't remember that on the test, you just have to move it into y equals mx plus b, and you're just trying to get your m, okay? All right, 2 more problems on this side. What is the rate of change of the cost with respect to the time in hours? This is just a fancy way of saying what is the slope. Rate of change is another phrase for slope. Okay, so when you go to your graph, you just want to find 2 good points, and actually this is a nice graph because it actually gives you dots for your rate of change. Okay, so we have, let's go ahead and pick this dot and the second dot. And if you recall, just drawing a triangle, and we want to do the rise over the run. Okay, so starting from the very left dot that we chose, we're going to see how many we rise by. It looks like on this one, each line is worth 1 value, so we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. So we went plus 3 there. And now this is what's a little tricky. There are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in between this, but if you look at the bottom, the x values, how do you get from 1 to 2? You just add 1 there. Okay, so pay really close attention to the x values on the bottom and the y values on the top. So the rate of change here is going to be a rise over run, so that's going to be plus 3 over 1. Okay, so plus 3 over 1. Actually, you don't need that plus sign. It's just going to be 3 over 1. Okay, just like that, 3 over 1, or just 3. All right, so once again, pay close attention to the y values and the x values. All right, last one on this page. Write an equation that has a slope of negative 3 and passes through the point 2, comma, negative 4, written in point slope form. All right, I'm going to use this time to remind you of all of the equations of line, all the forms that we've learned. Okay, so off to the right, you can write this down, so maybe on a separate sheet of paper since you don't have much room. We have standard form, and we actually just reviewed what standard form was. Standard form is equal to, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put equal to. I'm just going to put standard form with a colon. And then this is going to be ax plus by is equal to c. We have point slope form. Point slope. That is going to be y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. That's not a very good x. Here we go. And then the last one is going to be your, last one is going to be your slope intercept form. Slope. I'll abbreviate that slope intercept, slope int. Okay, that's just your y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, so y equals mx plus c. There's your 3 forms of equations of a line. And so when you get a question, you want to figure out, okay, what information is given to for me to write an equation. Okay, it says write an equation that has a slope of 3. So we have a slope of 3, negative 3, and passes through the point to negative 4. Okay. So we are given a point and we're given a slope. So out of these forms that I just listed, standard form, point slope, or slope intercept, well, if we're given a point and a slope, let's use the point slope form. Okay, so this y minus y1, so let me rewrite that for you. We go y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, so remember the points here, we are going to put the minus and then put the coordinate. And if you go to your coordinates here, we're going to put x1, and then we're going to put y1 to remind us what goes in for what. Okay, so let's rewrite this. Y, put your minus sign, and then what is the y1 coordinate? It is negative 4. Okay, is equal to your m, which is going to be your negative 3. So that's negative 3, and then parentheses. x, put the minus sign, then go find out what is your x1 value. In this case, it's just 2, and then close your parentheses. Okay, and when you get to this minus minus here, we know that turns into a plus sign. So now your final answer is going to be y plus 4 is equal to negative 3 times x minus 2. And that's all you have to do. If you get to an answer and they're only in a slope-intercept form or standard form, then yes, you are going to have to move things around, but the problem does not tell us specifically to write it in a certain form. Oh yeah, it does. It says written in point-slope form. Okay, so we just did it in point-slope form. Okay, so that does cover all three forms of a line, and then also it does remind you that you do need to basically do the opposite. So if this is minus 4, you're going to want to have a y plus 4. And you see how this is a positive 2. You want to do the opposite and have a minus 2. All right, this covers page 2.